one of my favorite brands of content is Israelis now crying about international law now that they're feeling the consequences of their actions. I say to all the Israelis suddenly crowing and caring about international law, spare us the selective moral outrage. Let's remind you that when you look up in the sky and you see cluster bombs, that's your crime. That's your fault. Your war crime against Iran begets all subsequent war crimes. To quote the judgment of the International Military Tribunal at Nuremberg, delivered on October 1st, 1946, quote, to initiate a war of aggression, therefore, is not only an international crime, it is the supreme international crime, differing only from other war crimes in that it contains within itself the accumulated evil of the whole. I hate to give Piers Morgan credit, but apparently he brutally hardcore cooked Ben Shapipu.
One thing he doesn't criticize, however, is Israel, and he routinely gets very upset when other people do. It's such a blind spot for Ben that through the red mist of his rage, he sees an alternate reality where anybody who disagrees with him is a demonic, America-hating terror apologist who can only possibly be doing it for ratings. And it was brought to my attention that he was very upset about a debate last week featuring Dave Smith.
So last night on Piers Morgan, which is the Jerry Springer of political television, where people gather to throw chairs at one another and determine paternity. Piers Morgan, who sort of made a mockery of the entire industry by putting on screen whatever dregs are still willing to go on screen with Piers Morgan.
Butthurt.
He had on Dave Smith, who has, apparently his job is never to tell jokes, but to instead give poorly informed foreign policy.
I hate that fucker so much. I'm sorry. I can't. I just can't. I want to vomit. Can't listen. I can't do it. I'm sorry. What I can do is look at this stain. Israeli soldiers are facing horrible challenges. Look at that. The IDF has a bad case of swampy butt. Apparently Iran is making them sweat from the booty hole. It's getting very fluid. It's a very fluid situation. Lots of shit developing. Looking to become a shit show if we're not careful. Tel Aviv looks pretty nice this time of year, guys. Guys, this is what's supposed to happen to Gaza, not Tel Aviv. What is happening? This is awful. He always sounds like that because he's a fucking belligerent pussy. I don't know. Those are just the words that popped in my head at that time. He's an aggressively horny pussy. Hezbollah targeted a military base belonging to the Israeli army in Ramla. More footage out of Israel. It's not looking good. Documenting today's events during the daytime in Tel Aviv where the explosions were massive. Boom, 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 boom. Ben-Gvir was involved in a health-related incident earlier today when a ballistic missile mysteriously lodged up his ass. Have you seen this, though? That there a lot of... Every time there's an American casualty in this war, we're being told by media and the government that it was a health-related incident. Lots of health-related incidents are happening. Another thing that I learned over the weekend was that there's way more casualties. There's way more American casualties than is being reported. Like, I think we're up to like 8 people dead officially, if we're to believe the Pentagon, if we're to believe the Trump administration, but it's likely to be much higher. And one story that conspicuously was developing over the weekend was that it was being reported that a town in Germany that was located near a U.S. military base was hosting this blood drive. It was actually a hospital that was really close to the U.S. military base in Germany. And they were calling out, trying to get people to come in and donate blood to this hospital that's conspicuously located very near a U.S. military base. And so a lot of people are saying that this is evidence that, these soldiers that are being ushered away from the front line are injured and they're being transported to German air bases. And the hospital even had to stop all of its pregnancy. I don't know how you would say the pregnancy ward or something, whatever resources they had devoted to doing these pregnancies and live births and stuff. They couldn't do that because they have to allocate all the resources to this blood drive because casualty rate is so high. But that's not something that you're going to hear from establishment media. You're going to have to listen to like Larry Johnson. You have to listen to Lawrence Wilkerson, to listen to these people that actually have like contacts on the ground because they've spent a whole career. They spent their entire lives in this tapestry, so they know it better than anyone. But we're totally winning harder than anyone has ever won before, and I'm actually kind of sick of it. I can't tell you how tired I am of winning. I've been sleeping all day. I've been sleeping like 12 hours a night because I'm just so tired of all the W's I've been racking up. It's crazy. And the Dow, has anybody noticed the Dow? It's like 50K right now. Here's some footage of chaos at Ben Gurion Airport in Israel as people are trying to flee. Passengers got angry, check-in counters closed, clashes broke out with police. They all want to leave the promised land so suddenly. Why? Why? Oh my God. I should be at Miami Beach right now. What is going on? Oh, it's at 47K? Well, I guess it's okay to prosecute pedophiles then again. Well, look at that. Check the time. It's prosecute pedophile o'clock. The Dow is under 50K. I mean, I just find it so suspect that the moment of truth has arrived, okay? God's truest promise has been unleashed upon the Israelites, Chosenites, the chosen people living in the promised land are now being given God's truest promise. And what do? What do? It's blasphemy, folks. They flee, they hide, they run. Now, what's another name for a group of people that are running and hiding from God's plan? I mean, what do you call those people? Pagans? Heretics? Honestly, Satanists are ironically cool. These people are something else. They prayed to Baal so much, now they've got ballistic missiles coming down at them. I'm pretty sure this was part of some biblical story. I mean, this is just a replay of biblical times anyway. So, I mean, you'd have to think that maybe this was promised to them as foretold in the Talmud. The Israeli-U.S. coalition carried out the most brazen chemical attacks in history. They doused 9 million Iranians with poisonous clouds in order to deprive them of the fuel they need to live. Now, this is the first I'm hearing about this. Why is this not being more widely reported? Of course, we probably know for obvious reasons. In stark contrast to the obvious 2018 false flag in Duma, which was staged to trigger Western bombings of Syria, the international community has reacted with muted concern. And here is what looks to be the footage of those poisonous clouds. This looks like an Iranian foreign policy advisor giving an interview to CNN. Let's see what they say.
Is your side seeking, or will you seek, a ceasefire with the United States at this point in time, and with Israel?
I don't see any room for diplomacy anymore because Donald Trump had been deceiving others and not keeping with his promises. And we experienced this in 2 times of negotiations, that while we were engaged in negotiation, they struck us.
How does all of this end then? If you say right now there's no room for negotiation, President Trump says he wants complete surrender. What does that lead to?
There's no room unless the economic pressure would be built up to the extent that other countries would intervene to guarantee this termination of aggression of Americans and Israelis against Iran.
Finally, what is your message to President Trump as we sit here?
Yeah, why do you not want to negotiate with us after we killed your entire negotiating team?
As the war is going on.
That means that what is important for us is the end of this game, and we are ready to continue that game.
The end of this game, you mean how this war will end?
Yeah, the end of the game would be the time that American and Israelis would come to this understanding that this strategy is not working, and they have to stop their aggressions against Iranians.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Is your side seeking?
Here, this is what we fight for, ladies and gentlemen. Beautiful. Somewhere, Jeffrey Epstein is looking down on us and smiling. Pretty crazy that Jeffrey Epstein started World War III. And on top, I know that's kind of a bastardized way of looking at it, but it's kind of funny too. It's a memeable way of saying it, okay? And there's some truth to it. So I'm just going to go ahead. Sometimes the lie reveals the truth, okay? We're just going to say Jeffrey Epstein started World War III. And not only that, but if you read through the Epstein files, apparently, allegedly, ostensibly, he predicted it. Isn't it true? And you can fact check me on this, but didn't, in an email exchange, they confirm, and they being Jeffrey Epstein and whoever he was talking to, that World War III would start on February 8th, 2026. Now, he was off by about 20 days, but still, that was something said in like 2018 or something, 2019. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Israel is posting recycled 12-day war videos from 2025 to claim that they've destroyed Iranian jets, but it's literally old footage. It says IDF says it hit 6 Iranian airports, destroying 15 jets and helicopters, crippling runways in Iran's air power. I don't know why they have. Oh, it's okay. So that was RT's post from 2025, and look, it's the same image that they just posted 2 hours ago. So that's not a good look, you know? You're trying to show that you're winning a war, but you're so lacking in evidence that you have to resort to deceiving people with footage from previous wars to show how well you're winning. And, you know, if Iron Dome was working, we'd see footage of it working. And I think it's also being shared that even the IDF is admitting they're having trouble knocking down these missiles, and this is internally within Israelis' society that they're admitting to themselves in the Hebrew press that they can't withstand. I even think it's being reported in Haaretz, which we can take a look at as well. All right, let's get an update on what Iran is considering. So this is from Dropsite News. It says Iran weighs tactical shift in Persian Gulf strikes while intensifying attacks on Israel. A senior Iranian official told Dropsite News that Tehran is considering scaling back some attacks on U.S. bases in Arab states while increasing strikes on Israel, arguing Iran had already achieved many of its tactical goals against U.S. military infrastructure. Possible shift in targeting. Iran's political and military leaders believe their ballistic missile and drone operations targeting U.S. bases and infrastructure have largely achieved their intended aim of degrading major radar systems and depleting stockpiles of interceptors. The official said Iran's leadership is reviewing whether to shift more of its operations toward Israeli targets in the coming days. God, I hope so. There is a trend we are likely to observe over the course of the coming week in the ongoing conflict, according to a senior Iranian official. He added that the overall strategy remains unchanged, but the focus of the strikes could begin shifting. There's been no change to the overall strategy. This continues the previous defensive approach. In the coming days, it is likely that operations will place greater emphasis on targets associated with Israel, while attacks on U.S. bases in the region may decrease to some extent. However, this reduction may not apply to U.S. bases in 2 particular countries where such actions could continue. He did not name the 2 countries, but Iran has increasingly attacked Bahrain recently, which hosts the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet. More centralized war strategy. The official said Iran has moved from decentralized retaliation early in the war to more coordinated military operations directed by political and military leadership. The political and decision-making system has been restructured in the military sphere as well. We are witnessing more organized and systematic actions. The military system has been operating in a much more organized way, both in timing and in the choice of targets. He said the broader strategy is aimed at pressuring Washington and Tel Aviv to halt the war. Iran's strategy, he said, aims at exerting maximum pressure on U.S. and Israeli interests in the region in order to compel them to move toward halting the war and de-escalating the situation. President Donald Trump has cornered both himself and U.S. interests. Twitter. If Iran does anything that stops the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the USA 20 times harder than they've been hit thus far, says Donald Trump. Additionally, we will take out easily destroyable targets that will make it virtually impossible for Iran to ever be built back. One thing that he said earlier, I just remembered, we didn't play the clip, but Donald Trump was like talking about how Iran is being obstinate. You know, they're being stubborn and you know, they tried to negotiate. He's trying to paint this narrative like, oh, we were trying to negotiate with them in good faith, but they just wouldn't. They didn't want to compromise. And he says, this is what he says. He says they picked the hard way. And then he says, well, actually the hard way is the easy way. They wanted to do the hard way, but actually it's the hard way is actually very easy. And I'm like, well, if it's the easy way, then why don't you just say it's the easy way? If you think it's the easy way, why would you characterize it the hard way? Just say it's the easy way. Now we're really going to get what we want. It's going to be super easy. No, don't say that it's hard. I mean, he's a walking contradiction. More on that.
The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved.
See, he's already working out his defense for the coming tribunal. He's like, well, my team said that this was good. It's really them. No, Mr. President. It's all you, bucko. Look at those superior genetics. Fighting continues among Zionists, occurring as more people trying to escape and return back to their home countries. Oh my God, you hate to see it, folks. The Chosenites are kvetching. They better get their little kibbutz on the train. By plane, by train, by any way you can get out of there, get out. In the 40s, they were fighting to stay off the train. Now they're like, please take me away. Get to the chopper! Yo, 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 yo. Yo, yo, ma. Yo, yo, wow. Operation Shook and Wow is going great. Much shooking, much wowing. They're wow-maxing. They're shook-maxing out there in the promised land. Donald Yazid Trump is resorting to promises of open state terror against easily destroyable targets, schools, hospitals, energy infrastructure to restore control over energy flows. What are you trying to say? So Trump threatens to hit Iran 20 times harder than whatever they've seen up until this point if they decide to close the Strait of Hormuz. But we've already known. I mean, they've already stopped the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz. As I understand it, everything's stopped. I mean, maybe China is still getting their oil, but now we have more threats of death, fire, and fury from our president. Oh my God, this video is so important because you will never see such realities on Fox News. A Spanish reporter from Tel Aviv reporting that no more sirens, warnings, and explosions are immediately hitting. Israel's promised defensive capabilities look like they are significantly gone.
Volvieron al refugio porque se reanudaron los ataques. Sí, contamos.
James, we are telling you, listen, 2 detonations we heard, 2 bomb blasts in the area where we were, just fell. In the vicinity of the place where we are, one near the airport, we are trying to find out information. We are once again in the shelter. It has been shocking and detailed that has disturbed us so much more. The alarms did not sound, so this has absolutely surprised us all. We have 2 impressive bomb blasts that have fallen meters from where we are. Please tell us how you are receiving us. We are receiving the audio and video transmission very well, but this time you did not receive an alert. Perfect. I hear you with some difficulty, Guillermo, but I understand you are receiving us well. Over the airport, one just exploded, I will tell you, 100 meters from where we are. We will try to pinpoint at the moment we are outside, but the surprising element is that the alarms have not sounded. That is just awful. It's a surprise. I thought they were never surprised at anything, but now they're being surprised. All right, so he's crying about how he's not receiving the alerts. He will go on and on and on about the alerts, the alarms, they're not working. Look at him, he's still talking about the alarms. We're all so shocked. The alarms are not sounding. The alarms sound, but the alarms are not sounded. The alarms, blah, 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 blah. Okay, yeah, we get it.